Welcome to the University of the Free State.
Wa amohelwa ho University of the Free State.
Welkom by die Universiteit van die Vrystaat.
Siyakwamukela eNyuvesi yase-Free State.
Situated in the heart of South Africa, my university is a creation of the past, the present, and the future. Across our 3 campuses, 7 faculties have been home to some of the most magnificent minds. Everything we do is rooted in our values of excellence, innovation and impact, accountability, care, social justice, and sustainability. We have been changing the world for more than a century. We continue to pave the way and inspire a fresh stream of knowledge and skill to follow in the footsteps of our scholars and alumni. We hunger for knowledge that will help us to be better and to do better. Our facilities encourage excellence, pulling us towards the light of new insight and ways of applying what we know. We lead by example, advocating sustainability in everything that we do. While we are making a current impact, we are also steering towards the future with the knowledge and skills we need to take the lead. The next years will be especially significant in our growth as our Vision 130 unfolds, which will peak in 2034 when the University of the Free State celebrates 130 years of existence. Vision 130 is our strategic intent to reposition the university for 2034. Join us on this journey. Together, we will go further.
Good evening. All right. Good evening, everybody. Hi, everyone. Dumelang, sanbonani molweni. How are you guys? Ah, fantastic. I'm so happy that you're so energetic and lively. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. If you don't mind, I'm just going to ask for a bit of silence. And the reason for that is that we are streaming live. So it's going to be important that the people who are joining us online can also, follow and hear us as clearly and audibly as possible. Thank you very much. I hope I have introduced myself. If I haven't, my name is Mosamo Erani. I am from Student Affairs, and I will be having, the responsibility as well as the honor of standing before you to moderate this evening's events. So here's what I'm going to share with you about what you can expect, and I hope that we will kind of delve into the topic together. This afternoon, we'll be applying our minds as well as our hearts to a topic whose importance is that much more pronounced for all of us here because of the recent events that we've had in this month. I think you guys know, right? It's okay if you don't, but if you do, say yes. Okay. As well, not just on our campuses and at our university, but across the country, we have been, once more reminded that we have not yet resolved the question of financial exclusion within our campus. And it's a complex one, and it's one of many challenges that we face within the university landscape. And it is against this backdrop and that we are going to gather today to kind of interrogate the tensions, the dilemmas, as well as all of the challenging factors that affect us collectively under the topic Navigating the South African Higher Education Landscape. And tonight, we are, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to, go through any type of terrain, but you do need, someone who has the kind of capacity and capability, as well as the, experience, the knowledge, and the contextual analysis of, that our guest speaker this evening, Prof. Sbusiso Chalufu has. And he's going to be assisting us navigate, the terrain of South African higher education in this particular context and in this era. So it is my hope that you don't read tonight's topic as some kind of distant policy, but understand that it's a personal one for each and every single one of us, everybody in this room, and it includes all of us. How do we challenge, systems of exclusion? How do we make sure that, we support our educators who are burdened by, bureaucracy within the university space? And of course, asking ourselves, what kind of graduates are we producing, as well as more urgently, at whose cost? So tonight, I hope we will listen with humility, speak with courage, and of course, leave here with purpose. To kickstart our program this evening, we have Izzy, who is going to, set the tone for us. Invite whatever spiritual, subscriptions you might have so that it guides us through this particular evening's journey together. So I'm going to invite Izzy to render a musical item just to set the tone for this evening, and then we will begin once and for all our program. Thank you.
Okay.
Round of applause for Easy, guys.
Yeah, les péchés is what? Swear I feel like a Kuzwa. Got on Kuzi. Cause a nigga been rapping too hard. A couple of years true, but I'm waiting for God to show his grace for my butt. My nigga, this thing is a lot. Me ain't easy, but he need the top. Keep me steady and claiming the spot. They manifesting a lot. Been playing with these things since a kid. Catching bodies like we need a key. Cause oh my God, he bringing the heat. I swear I'm keeping shit clean. We investing in chasing the dream. Yeah, let's get it. Yeah, easy, easy. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, hey, hey, yeah. Cash, money, rents. I need them stead. They gotta be stead. I be grinding in this way. Please don't interfere. I don't need to be back. Nah, I bet the. Oh, you can. I'm saying, I'll play with you hints. On the mic, I'll bury you niggas. Like 6 feet under with these things. Check it, cash, money, racks. I need them stead. They gotta be stead. I be grinding in this way. Please don't interfere. I don't need to be back. Nah, I bet the. Oh, you can. I'm saying, I'll play with you hints. On the mic, I'll bury you niggas. Like 6 feet under. Hey, flow nasty, you don't see that I'm finna protect my integrity. Cause when it comes to rap, I know I'm him. I know most your politics disagree, but after those comments, I'ma keep it real. Now right now, I know where I'm going, me and my dogs, manifesting these feats. Oh God, wanna be on payment list like the Rios be nodding their heads, they vibing my rhymes. I know that they one of the guys. Don't niggas be testing my patience, swallow the dog. Man, I call that shit fun. Oh God. Have mercy on me. Don't wanna go back where I check in the future. My daily plans are just nagging up. So G and these niggas want beef, but I'ma cook them up like some soup. And you better I'ma hit this dude. No cap, I'm really that bro. Yeah. No cap, I'm really that bro. Yeah. Easy is really that bro. Check it, cash, money, rents. I need them stand. They gotta be stand. I be grinding in this way. Please don't need to be. I don't need to be black. Nah, I bet the. Or you can, I'm telling you, I play with you humans. On the mic, I bury you niggas. Like 6 feet under with these niggas. Check it, cash, money, racks. I need them stead, they gotta be stead. I be grinding in this way, please don't need to be. I don't need to be back. Nah, I bet the, or you can, I'm telling you, I play with you humans. On the mic, I bury you niggas. Like 6 feet under with these lyrics, yeah.
Easy. No, that was, no, I said he would set the tone. He has set the tone. No, that was incredibly vibrant and energetic. We're very grateful. I even feel bad that we have to talk after that. But it was so fantastic. Thank you very much, Izzy, for that fantastic performance. Truly, truly spectacular. And I'm glad that you're going to be performing once again later on in the program. Yes. But we have to, get to Izzy. In order for us to get to Izzy, we have to get through the rest of the program. So what we're going to do now is, what I'm going to do, let's settle down, guys. Let's settle down. Thank you so much. At this juncture, I would like to invite the Deputy Director in the who's in the Institutional Student Governance Office, Mr. Paul Lambalane. And he has the unenviable task of introducing us to our guest speaker for this evening. And I say it's unenviable because, man, some CVs, guys, you can't print them simply because resources are limited. But it is also an incredible honor that someone of his caliber would join us this evening to help us, unpack and discuss some of the challenges, some of the things that we need to be thinking about beyond sort of the public-facing challenges. What does he know about what happens behind the scenes? And Mr. Paul Lambalane is going to help us get acquainted with Prof. Chalufu this afternoon. Mr. Mbalane, please join me.
Good
Good evening, Prof, who is our guest speaker for tonight, to the SRC and the President General and the President of the South Campus and your council, our CSRC from the Bloemfontein campus as well. Greetings and all protocol observed. And I have the honor and the most difficult task, and I want to promise you that what I'm going to present to you here is a shorter version, shorter than myself, of the bio. So let me just get to it before I get in trouble with the program director. But our guest speaker, Prof. Chalufu, has worked in the higher education sector for over 20 years. 30 years. Now it means it's going to get longer. He has worked in the higher education sector for 30 years, over 30 years, apologies for that, 18 of which have been in senior and executive management positions in academia and in student affairs and services. He has lectured to undergraduate and postgraduate students and successfully supervised master's students. He serves as an external examiner for master's and doctoral studies at several universities. He started his career as a tutor and later became a research assistant, lecturer, acting head of department, head of residence, head of support services division, head of department, dean of students, executive director and acting deputy vice chancellor, campus operations. Maybe you can give me a break and clap a little bit. As part of the Northwest University's strategy realignment process, he oversaw the student life, transformation and people and culture portfolio, whilst responsible for his substantive position as executive director, student life with transformation. He obtained his undergraduate and honors qualifications from the then University of Durban, Westville, now the University of KwaZulu-Natal, 2 master's degrees from the University of Bristol and the State University of New York at Buffalo, and a PhD from the University of Pretoria. He received further training from the Hiroshima University and the United Nations University, respectively, the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration in India, and the Galilee International Management Institute in Israel. Previously, he has been part of several projects, including a project which resulted in the first book on measures in higher education in Africa, quote, Measures in Higher Education, Lessons Learned in Transitional Contexts. In 2018, Prof contributed a chapter in the book, The Struggle for Fees Must Fall, We Are No Longer at Ease, and in 2020, an article on student governance and engagement for student success. In Kagiso, number 12 journal, and then in 2022, he co-authored an article which was published in the Journal of Student Affairs in Africa, and in 2023, in collaboration with colleagues, Prof. Chalufu contributed an article as part of the International Association of Student Affairs and Services project called New Directions for Student Services towards professionalization of student affairs across the globe. Prof. Chalufu has participated in several initiatives and projects in the higher education space, recent of which are the following: Universities South Africa, reshaping universities to create student-centered higher education systems in South Africa, the USAF Higher Education Leadership and Management Student Affairs and Student Success Program, the HELM, which is the Higher Education and Management, Higher Education Leadership and Management Executive Leadership Program, appointment to the editorial board of the International Journal, the Journal of Student Affairs, Research and Practice,
and appointment to the Council on Higher Education Reference Group on the development of a framework for transformation in higher education in South Africa. That is Prof in short. Thank you, Program Director.
Sure. No, I had to take a minute with it as well. I heard about institutions and bodies that I didn't know about. I was listening and hearing, oh no man, if I stick it out with the school thing, there's a lot out there. And with that incredible introduction from our Deputy Director, I'd like to invite you, Prof. Chalufu, please, to the podium.
To fly the presentation. It's not sure. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good evening, Dumelang, Sanbonani, Molweni. I am not feeling you. Good evening, Sanbonan, Dumelang, Molweni. That's what I know young people to be all about. I must say that, after the performance by Easy, I was just trying to figure out, why am I still talking? Why is it necessary for me to talk? Can't we have more performances by Easy? But I must say that I really take my hat off to all of you. On a Friday evening, Nochal, and you've decided to be here. And it just says a lot about your commitment. Maybe just give yourself a round of applause. Yeah. I also just want to really express my appreciation to the University of Free State, the Office of the Department of Student Affairs, for having organized this engagement, which was postponed twice already. At some point I thought, no, I was not meant to be here. But eventually, when it happened, I was grateful. Grateful because not only do I think it is important for us to really engage in these types of engagement. In our country, one of the things that I think we're missing is the opportunity to sit down and dialogue and really engage with a view to be saying, how do we begin to deal with the challenges that we have? So I really appreciate all of you being here and those who are joining us virtually. I'm really surprised that this room is full on a Friday. I feel ashamed because when I was a student, many years ago, on a Friday, you will not have found me in a place like this. I will have been somewhere else. But it says a lot about you. And I really, really want to take my hat off to you. So, you can move. On the 23rd of August in 2001, a hardworking single mother, a sister, an aunt, probably a daughter, a friend, a colleague, was gunned down in Johannesburg after she had dropped off her daughter. Her name is Babita Deokaran. And this is a story that probably you all know about. In 2023, if you can move, Professor Jonathan Jansen wrote a book about corruption in higher education in our country. It's quite a riveting story. If you have a chance, get hold of that book and read it. By the way, the Babita story, I read it in 3 days. It is so heart-wrenching. And I'm hoping in a few minutes that I have, you'll get to understand why I'm starting where I'm starting. In August 2023, students at the University of KwaZulu-Natal burned down an examination hall on the Pietermaritzburg campus. They had grievances, they were not happy, and they burned down that hall. A few years earlier, in 2016, students at the University of KwaZulu-Natal burned down a law library. I can see you cringing. That is the worst form of anti-intellectualism. How do you burn down a place of knowledge, a library? One thing that I liked, SRCs condemned it. They condemned that kind of action. That to me is leadership. 3 years earlier, in 2013, students at the same university, I was the executive director there of student services. They burned down the protection services offices. They burned down the administration office. They burned down the CCTV room. And they also burned down I think it's HIV and AIDS van. They burned down one of the residences where, by the way, I was supposed to be sleeping temporarily. So I should have been ash and being buried somewhere. So that's what happened in 2013. Earlier this month that we are in, October, students at the University of Fort Hare also burned down a couple of buildings. And this is where, and Tatepola, I thought to myself, I thought we'd gone past this. And the fact that when you are not happy, you burn down something. What does that say? Maybe we have failed as student affairs practitioners. Think about it. In your own house, if you are angry, and I have got teenagers, a daughter and a son, and they are hungry most of the time for a good reason. Do you burn down your room? Do you burn down the sitting room? It doesn't make sense. Just because you are angry or you are not happy. Think about it. So, you may ask yourself, what has all of this got to do with the higher education landscape that I've been asked to speak about? I was asked to speak about curriculum reforms. I was asked to speak about the co-curricular programs and how they can enhance the academic program in terms of your own personal and your professional development. That's well and good. But I think we need to take a few steps back. And I'm hoping that when we have the engagement, you'll keep in mind, or at the back of your mind, where I've started. Because a whole lot is wrong with our higher education system right now. The corruption, the way that we deal with things, our curriculum, all kinds of things are wrong. And I'm hoping that you as leaders, because by the way, the future of this country is in your hands. If I calculate, I'm thinking, I always tell my son, I think maybe I still have about 35 years or so. That's not a lot. Some of you are not even 35 years old. The future of this country is in your hands. Unless we change the course, unless we change the course of where higher education is going, then we are in trouble. We are in serious, serious trouble. So, the approach that I've decided to take was, I just want to give a bit of a context, both at a global level and at a national level. Maybe that's talking about the landscape, but it's something that you know, and I won't spend a lot of time on that. I don't want to bore you with that. But I also want to look at the role of student affairs and services, because all of you sitting here as leaders, by the way, what it doesn't say in my short bio is that I was a student leader, is that I started off being a student leader, not only in this country, but also in the US, where I was a student. And I tell you, the work that we do in student affairs and service, what you are doing is actually critical. Whether you are a leader in the residencies or you are a leader in a society or in a club, don't undermine that. Unbeknown to most of you, I'm actually an introvert. I can't speak in front of people. I couldn't speak in front of people until I was a student leader. And I learned so much in terms of conflict, in terms of how you get, planning, organizing, all of those things. Do not underestimate those skills. When you leave this university and you go out into the world, yes, armed with your qualification, the skills that you will have gotten are much more powerful, and do not ever undermine them. I ended up being an acting deputy vice chancellor, something that I could never ever dream about, because of the skills that I have gotten in all those formative years. So I'm just saying to you, as student affairs and services, there's a critical role that we play, and don't undermine that. The work that you are doing. And by the way, I always say, I love the passion that you guys have as young people. And I'm not surprised that you are here. I'm not surprised that you are doing the work that you are doing. However, you need to channel your energies in the right direction. Because more often than not, yes, you fight for things, but I want you to begin to think about how do you use a bit of forward thinking and think beyond the here and now. Think about the impact that you can make beyond you being a leader here and now. There's so many challenges in this world that we are dealing with, and it is you as young people who can really make that change. It is you who can actually turn this country around from where it currently is going. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I'll talk a bit about whether our higher education at this moment is fit for purpose. What is the purpose of higher education? Is it fit for purpose? Are you studying what you're supposed to be studying? Are you getting the kind of skills that you're supposed to be getting? At the end of the day, when we talk about graduate attributes or graduateness, what does that mean? When you leave the University of the Free State as a graduate, what do people encounter when they encounter you? What makes you different from any other student from any other place? Because that matters. That makes a difference. Then I'll speak a little bit about the need for us to move more towards a humanizing curriculum and pedagogy, and what your role is in terms of that. Because you cannot be at a point where you are like empty vessels where knowledge is poured unto you. You have to be active role players in the knowledge, in the epistemological underpinnings of what goes on in your education. I know something that everybody is excited about is the whole issue of artificial intelligence. I must just say, this is my own personal view. I didn't use AI until probably maybe a year or so ago, because I was not a fan of AI. I'm still not sure actually that I am fully. You know why? I worry about the fact that we lose our creativity. I worry about that it's like we're going to become a bit more dumb. You know, people can today, the other thing that's not in my bio, I work in church. You know, people can actually today put together a whole sermon that has been put together by ChatGPT and preach it. And I'm thinking, woo. So where's your innovation? Where's your creativity? At what point do we become creative and are able to really say, this is what I've created? But AI is good. Don't get me wrong. It has some good things that I think we should really harness and utilize. Then I'll look at the skills for the future and end up with implications for student development. And hopefully then we'll have a discussion by then. You can move. So a little bit of a context, global context. And I think these are things that most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with. Questions are being asked now about what is the role of higher education, in terms of knowledge generation. What is the role of higher education in respect of education for sustainable development? Because if we do not take care of the environment, and we continue doing things the way that we are doing, at the end of it all, it will mean nothing whether you have a PhD in economics or whatever you have. It will mean absolutely nothing. So issues around sustainable development are critical. And of course, globally, issues around access and equity, in the same way that those are a concern for us as a country, and a whole lot of other things. But I want to, if you can just move that, I want to just allude a little bit about at the epistemological level, at the level of knowledge production and generation. I think it is important that we must move beyond mode 1 or even mode 2 knowledge production and begin to look at ways in which knowledge is actually used to deal with and solve real life challenges. So it is no longer good that you are a sociology, not expert, but you are specializing in sociology. The notion of transdisciplinarity is quite important, because knowledge is not something that you can deal with just from one angle. You need to be looking at things from different angles. And that's where you need to be working with others. At the moment, I'm an associate professor in humanities. However, I've studied education. I've studied education, leadership, and management. And I'm looking at other things, other ways in which we can make a contribution. So I'm just saying it is important for us to move beyond that. Still talking about the global context, the one that a few things I want to allude to, and I think these are the things that you are very much aware of. The global geopolitical landscape and its impact on higher education. It's something that we cannot ignore. What is happening in the US right now is something that we cannot ignore. What are its implications for internationalization, for example? What are its implications for you being able to study anywhere else in the world? What is the import of internationalization? And if you look at President Trump and the way that things are happening in that country, you begin to realize that there's a serious problem. Of course, there are issues around the economic shifts, tariffs, and their impact on higher education. The impact of climate change, I've spoken about that, but also most importantly, the conflicts that are happening around the world. What is their impact on higher education? And by the way, just because we are in a state that we are in as a country, where we are not involved in any conflict as it were, do not ever think that things can never change. We were on the brink of it. I think most of you probably were still very young. In 1994, we were on the brink of it. Oh, you were already there. Huh? Huh? Oh, you were not born. Oh, Kilunama 2000. Sorry, Kilibetsi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But anyway, we were on the brink of a civil war. And I think, we must be careful as a country. It's almost like what happens with GBV in this country, where we take a stance that as long as it's not affecting me, it's got nothing to do with me. That is the wrong attitude. It is the wrong attitude. It affects you because that could be your sister, your mother, but it's all good for you to be quiet until it starts happening to you. So unless we change things, but as young people say, asiko lapho, that's not where I am. Move to the next one. At the national context, I don't think I need to tell you, you guys know these things. You know what is happening in terms of, funding, student funding, NSFAS. You know all of these things. So I don't want to bore you about all of that. And of course, the question that becomes quite critical for me is, why are we still having campus upheavals? Why are we at the point where we cannot engage and deal with issues? Is it a failure on our part, MEMUs, as student affairs practitioners, that we have not reached a point where we are able to say, let us engage and deal with all issues before they get into the streets, before they get into a level at which we have no control. So as I said, the whole issue around corruption and all of that, it is something that that you are very much aware of. So what I want to do now is, maybe I should speak about this because it also concerns me. As young people, what you guys are going through with respect to mental challenges, the issue of mental health. I have seen quite a few young people who have taken their own lives. And I think to myself, what drives a person to that level? And by the way, I don't judge. I don't judge because I'll share this with you. At one point, I also thought about taking my own life. The mental challenges that we are going through as a country, more often than not, at least in my view, they are a result of a lot of unresolved issues. We don't deal with issues. We don't address issues. But we also don't get to understand that there are alternatives. There are solutions. So a lot of work needs to happen in that regard. That's part of the context. But as I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time with that. In terms of student affairs, and I'll finish in a few, by the way, because I'm more interested in us engaging. If you can move it, Dr. Paul, thank you. In terms of, maybe one of the things that I can do is I'll speak to V's. I'll put the presentation in a PDF, and it can be shared with you. Yeah, so I think that will be easier. I'll actually do it tonight and make it sure that it can be shared with all those who attended. So, again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about student affairs and services, but there's few things that are critical. Research has actually told us, as I was saying right at the beginning, that the work that we're doing there is important. It's important so much so that there's actually a correlation between student engagement and student success. You may not understand this because in the past, student leaders used to be called dinosaurs. You know why? They will come to university and you find somebody who's been at a university for 5 years, but they're still doing their first year. Oh yes. You may not know this because, Lona, you are not like that anymore. But during our time, you'll find a student leader. They will tell you, no, he's been around. Then you try to check. In actual fact, we used to check whether, is this guy maybe he's doing medicine because he's in his 5th year. And only to discover, no, he's still doing his first year or second year. There is a correlation between you being engaged, being involved, and student success. So all the work that we do in student affairs actually is important, not only for you, but in terms of student engagement itself. As I said, I won't go into all of those details. There's work that has been done by Professor Francois Strado from this university, which is quite good. I've read that work speaking about how the fact that student engagement actually promotes student success and the extent to which if you do things the right way, you can get it right. So, next one. As I close with this part, I just want to remind you that in student affairs and services, we are interested in your personal growth. We are interested in your intellectual growth because both are actually important. But we also, our major aim is to ensure that we contribute to your development in terms of you being holistic beings, well-rounded, innovative, and socially responsive global leaders. All of it, which is in service of humanity. If that's not what your concern is, then it means we are not doing our work well. It means that we are not contributing to your holistic development, and we are actually not assisting you in terms of enhancing your skills. I want to share with you, this book is available for free. You can download it. Very fascinating book. What it speaks about is, if you can move, yeah. It speaks about the purpose of higher education. And this is where I'm hoping, as we engage, you will think about, what is the purpose of higher education? Why are we all here? Why is it important that we should be engaged in this thing called higher education? Well, one of the authors, Professor Ira Hagevy, argues that the most significant purpose is education for citizenship. And think about it. I'm sure you know the notion of educated fools. Most of us actually are educated, but we are fools. Because if our education was serving a purpose, a lot of the things that are happening in our country now will not be happening. Simple things such as gender-based violence, it will not be happening. What educated human being will think that the best thing to deal with people who are vulnerable, is to beat them up, is to kill them. Think about it. As a good citizen, not only of this country, but of this world, if you are educated, then surely, I know Lauren Hill speaks about the miseducation, and I'm not sure that what is happening right now in higher education is actually serving what the higher education purpose should have been. But at another level, and this is where you come in, education should be there to bring about individuals who are ethical, individuals who have empathy, individuals who are actively engaged, who are active and effective democratic citizens. In other words, all of us should be involved, not only at the level of politics. I'm not just talking politics. We should be active citizens, such that the kind of things that are happening should not be happening. And most importantly, you've moved too fast. Most importantly, education should be there to address societal challenges. If all of us are sitting here, and this is where sometimes I don't understand this. So all of us here, we are educated. Yet there are challenges in our communities. There are young people who do not have math skills. There are young people who don't understand English. And what are we doing about it? How many of you, and if you are doing it, I'm saying bravo. Why do young people need to go into, to a space where they have to pay when you and I have got the skills? So why are we not solving societal challenges? Why are we not involved in that? Again, if you are doing that, bravo to you. I live in Pretoria. I am always challenging my daughter, who's 23 years old, that this town is very dirty. It is filthy. What are you doing as young people to change the mindset, to get people to understand that, by the way, the more you continue with this environmental degradation, it's going to affect you as young people in the long run. We've got challenges as a society. What is education doing in terms of doing that? Education should be there to produce the kind of knowledge that is needed in order to change the world for the better. If whatever education you're getting is not doing that, then it means nothing. This notion of education as being a public good. If not, it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to skip that one. You can move to oh, by the way, I can just indicate, go back a bit. That book also is available for free. I'm assuming that you as leaders are people who read. Because unless you do that, unless you expand your knowledge and understanding, then I'm not too sure you should be leading others. It's a book, Higher Education for Good. It's a book that is available, but I'm going to skip all of that. As I move towards closing, I just want to speak about 3 last things. One, in May or thereabouts, the economist Davy Ruotz was interviewed, or he was talking somewhere in the Cape, and he was saying that we need to close most of our universities because they are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. He was arguing that we need to spend more time in terms of enhancing your technical colleges. I know that speaks against what is, by the way, I agree with him. I agree with him. Let me say something that you may not like, but I'm not in the business of being liked, so I don't care whether you like it or you don't. So, a number of young people go to universities who are not supposed to go to universities. They come to university to study things that, one, are not even relevant. Secondly, which do not help in any shape or form. Thirdly, for which they do not have the aptitude. Yet you have individuals who have skills and the aptitude to actually do well. And I'm talking about your technical colleges, I'm talking about all kinds of things where you can excel. And this is the conversation we are not having in this country. We lie to each other, everybody must go to university. I don't think so. If you look at other countries, in actual fact, people with technical skills, the technical know-how, are doing well, are doing good, and they are making a contribution that should be made. During COVID, we had a problem in my house, and something was clogged. And I thought for a while, now I need to call a plumber, and there's a call-out fee and all of those things. But something said, just try this thing. I locked myself in the place, and I tried. After an hour, I had solved the problem, and I had saved 1,200 rands. 1,200 rand. And then I went to my wife and said, no, you owe me 1,200 rands. Because, no, I did the job. What do you mean how? I did the job. You could have gotten somebody from outside. No, I did the job. No. I needed that money. I spent an hour. It's a call-out fee. What is the point that I'm making? There are people who have the skills in other areas, not necessarily at university. My own daughter that I shared, I alluded to, she decided she was going to go and study at one of the institutions which focuses in performing arts. I was not happy about that. But that is what she's good at. That is her calling. That is what she's doing good. So the point is, not all of us, and as I said, that is an argument that not everybody wants to hear, but David Rhodes has put that on the table. We need to ensure that we put people in the right places and we get them the right skills, because that's part of the problem. I'm going to skip a couple of things because I want to engage now. I think I'm more interested. I'm looking at you and it's like you're ready to go. But you can skip that. You can skip that one as well. But I just want to allude just briefly to something that is called a humanizing pedagogy. Okay? And this is where I think, as a country, if you ask me about the landscape, this is where we should have been. You may have seen here, I think Professor Jonathan Jansen wrote an article about that. This is where the focus should be, around learner-centeredness, around contextual relevance. Is the knowledge that you are getting here relevant for us as a country, as a continent, and for the world? Are issues of decolonization, have they been resolved? Are we getting the kind of knowledge that we should be getting? Those are the kind of things that you should be getting involved in as leaders. There's a very fascinating book, it's a very old book, written by a Brazilian philosopher, Paulo Freire, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It is still as relevant today as it was when I was at university in the 80s. One of the points that I need to make, it's very important that we must educate people for the right jobs. However, apart from focusing on preparing people for the jobs of the future or the jobs of today and of the future, it's important, and I want to argue, that we must educate people for global citizenship. It cannot be that a country, and I know now I'm talking politics, and I'm touching on some people's nerves, that a country can attack another country and actually get engaged or involved in genocide, and all of us keep quiet because it does not affect us. Where children and women are actually literally starved if they are not killed. So, we need to become global citizens. We need to be involved in social justice. We need to be involved in nation building. That, for me, is the importance of education. The topic that is interesting to most of you, of course, as I said, AI, and I'm going to close in a second. This is another book. Unfortunately, this one is not free. I bought it and I was grumbling as I was buying it, 350 rands, but it's a very good book. It's a very good book. I've started reading it. When you have a time, I'm hoping your library might have it. When you have time, please have a read of this book, because for me it contextualizes artificial intelligence within our context and what it can do for us and what it can achieve. I'm going to, again, move to the next one. As we think about technology, there are a couple of things that we need to bear in mind. I was saying to you, AI for me, it feels like we're becoming dumb. It feels like we lose our creativity, we lose our innovations and all that. One of my questions to you as young people, are you still intellectually curious? Do you still have intellectual curiosity? Do you read with that in mind to say, how do I really satisfy this curiosity? If education does not do that, then for me it's not good enough. The one thing that our universities have started doing is to focus on entrepreneurial skills, which I think is important, which I think is good. We can't all be, studying in order to be in a job. We must create jobs. We must create jobs and empower others. Emotional intelligence, if we don't have that, cultural awareness and agility, because that's one of the problems now in the world that we live in. So I'm just touching on those, and you can skip that one, the next one. But I just want to, as I close, move to the next one, please. As I close, just talk a little bit about the skills of the future, or the skills that are required now. And I've highlighted a few. We are living in times where, in the US, they will tell you about fake news. Everything is fake news. We were told that in this country, white Afrikaners are living such a horrible life. They cannot walk in the streets. They cannot do anything because it is so bad. As though crime chooses, as though this criminal, the same criminals who broke into my house, they first check, are you white or black? Oh, you are black. Okay, sorry, see you later, or not see you at all. We are no longer able to think critically. In actual fact, I think the dumbing down, it's easy to have anything being sold to us, and we buy it. By the way, I applaud the Afrikaners who wrote an article and said, no, they signed a petition. They said, not in our name. What is being said is not in our name, because this is not true. Yes, there are problems in this country. Yes, we have a challenge of unemployment, challenge of crime and all of those things. But to think that things are so bad that there's a certain group that is being targeted, that's a whole lot of nonsense. We need to have skills in terms of problem solving. I'm not too sure with AI whether, we can now just simply, you just, when you go to ChatGPT, you just throw something. I know you still need to tell it what to do. And I don't know whether it annoys me or something when it says, oh, that's a brilliant question. And I'm thinking, why are you saying that? You're making me seem like I'm stupid because now I'm asking a brilliant. But we have problem-solving skills. Creativity, that's what I was talking about, originality and all of that. The three last ones, for me, those are key. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. You can link that to mental health issues that we were talking about because more often than not, especially you guys, the young ones, you do not know how to really deal with issues of stress. And when I look at my kids and I look at what we went through, and I think, I don't think you will have survived. I do not think you will have survived. For people who can cry because you've taken away their phones, for people who can cry because you say, don't watch TV, focus on something else. And that's what's stressing you. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. I am. Reasoning skills, problem-solving skills, and emotional intelligence, as it were. So as I close, and of course, on top of that, curiosity and other skills are quite important. So as I close, I am hoping that, remember where I started, about where our education system is at the moment. The challenges that I have alluded to. Because the challenges that are happening in our country, invariably, they are affecting us in higher education. And what is our role? What is your role as leaders? What is it that you are doing to change the course of this ship that is South African higher education? And what is your role in actually changing this country such that if we don't watch it, we are going into a pit, getting there very fast. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think we can all agree that was an incredibly profound, grounded, and compelling presentation from Prof. Am I right? Extremely challenging as well. It's always nice when you listen to a presentation and there are parts that you have even more questions about. But what I found most interesting and most valuable for me at the very least, and something that I hadn't yet seen in previous presentations, is recommendations of literature. I really, really appreciated that, Prof. So thank you very much for an incredible, incredible presentation. Prof spoke on so many topics. He really led us through various terrains, like I promised you guys. He spoke on AI and the challenges and as well as the opportunities that it presents for us. He gave us historical context from 1994 when you guys were young. Then you said, no, Prof, we were not here, not us. But I think having someone who has that, memory as well helps us build background context to understand how we got to where we are, right? Because we're not where we are as a matter of chance or as just mere, consequence of nature, if that makes sense. We need people like Prof. Chalufu to assist us in sort of closing in the gaps that we might have. Some of you were born in 2004, am I correct? All right. Okay, more closer to it. And I remember in 2004, and I'm about to perhaps reveal my own age, Thandiswa Mazoi released an album called Zabalaza. And it was interesting at the time because one of the tracks she says is Nizilibele ukuba nizalwa ngubani, and even the track Zabalaza as well. That album is interesting because it was exactly 10 years after the fall of apartheid, as it were. And yet already then there were cracks that musicians, creatives were helping us see and look at, and which is what I think Prof was trying to bring to us, that with artificial intelligence, the thing that will keep us, human is feeling, because they haven't yet created artificial feeling. And that is part of the creativity that you spoke about. That is part of the connection that we speak of, as well as even reflecting on some of these new age issues that that Prof helped us kind of bring to the fore and assisted us in naming some of them. But as you can tell, I have a lot of reflections of my own. But I'll send a WhatsApp to Mr. Paula to send to Prof so that I don't take up too much time today. But I really want to invite some of you, actually all of you, not some of you, all of you, to please engage with Prof if you have any questions from his presentation, things that you need clarity on, something that you think perhaps that actually sparked another thought that you would like for him to address. Please, just by a raise of hands. I'll take a round of 3 hands, just so that we don't overwhelm Prof. But don't worry, I'll take a minimum of 3 rounds of 3 hands. Is that fine? All right, cool. Let's go ahead with the first 3, please. I don't know who's going to assist us with the mic. I already see 1 hand. Okay, so I'm going to note 3 hands. I already saw 1 that side. There's somebody with a blazer and what used to be called a German cut. I don't know what it's called now. And then there's there's also another hand here. And I already have 3, everybody. So yes, that's the first speaker. Please stand up and if you don't mind, share with us your name, just so that we also get to know you.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Pusele Tsomaile. Prof, I heard your speech there. The presentation was but there was something that disturbed me very much.
Yes.
You mentioned something that education is here to address the social challenges, of which I want to believe all of us here, we do agree with that statement. But there is quite a missing gap between what is supposed to happen and what is currently happening, especially in the institutions of higher learning. Our people are suffering. Our students are suffering. And most of our students say they are first-generation students. I stand to be corrected. But as we stand, we see that registration fees are increasing, Prof. In terms of education accessibility, provisional registration has been discontinued. We see computer literacy modules are only being limited to certain faculties. So, as a student and as a student leader, I need to understand which social injustices are being addressed by institutions of higher learning, especially the institution that we are currently in. Which social injustices are those that are being addressed? Thank you.
There's a lady with a grey sweater here. Are we here in front? There's a lady with a grey sweater. Thank you.
Good day, Prof. So my name is Melissa, and I had taken a lot from what you said. So I have a lot written down, but I'll start with 1. You said that people should aim for global citizenship, but I'm certain that not many people are even exposed to that term, let alone what it means. So how can us as student leaders and how can the institution encourage more young South Africans to become problem solvers and critical thinkers rather than job seekers?
And right here in front.
Good evening, everyone. Mine, Prof, is not necessarily a question, but also something I would have loved to, include in this type of conversation, is the fact that, especially towards student affairs, right? Factually speaking, right, we do have student leaders that are put in strategic positions, but the truth is the power in which the student leaders are given is very much limiting. As much as we sit in the meetings, we sit in the tables, our powers, our voting powers, our speaking powers, they are very, very limiting. Therefore, when you then say, student leaders ought to then lead with these and these such and such qualities, you may have those qualities as a student leader, but student affairs along with the university, which we refer to as management, I think everybody knows, management presents a front of wanting to work hand in hand with us, but then at the same time, it's almost as if we're just these sacrificial lambs to say, no, but we have a bridge in between the students and management, but then there is no real power that we are given to actually advocate, and even if we have solutions, we don't have the platform in which we can present them and they are taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Prof.
Yeah, I should just remind you, it's Friday, and you're asking me all these difficult questions on a Friday evening. But on a serious note, no, thank you so much for these questions and comments, which I think are quite important and critical. Let me start with the first one. You're talking about a gap in terms of what is happening in reality and what should be happening as our understanding of what higher education should be doing. And I understand the real issues that you are bringing up, because these are the things that you as students are dealing with. You've alluded to the issue of registration fees. You've alluded to the issue of, amongst others, your computer literacy courses being limited to faculties and all of that. So, as a student leader, my question to you is, what are you doing to really, in a real way, to influence the cause of this university? And by that, what do I mean? What do I mean? At what level are you involved? And I want to link it with your question there. Is it president? Yeah, I figured out, Madam President. TG. Oh. I see. No, it's fine. You see, it's okay. So I want to link it with that. Part of the problem is that you are quick as student leaders to complain that either you don't have enough in terms of numbers, or when it comes to issues, you don't have a voice, or you know when it's voting, you are outnumbered and all of that. But I don't think you are utilizing the power that you have. That is if you do. Which is to say, when you get into a boardroom, for example, if the fees, there's a proposal for increasing the fees, what have you done as part of your homework, as part of your research, to really go deep and understand, one, why is this necessary? And two, what are the counter arguments around that? Because unless you do critical work, and when you sit at a table, you sit with facts and figures, and you are able, it doesn't matter whether you are few in numbers, you can convince everybody in the council that your argument, the power of your argument, because you've done your work, because you've done your research, it stands muster. No, don't say mm-mm. Do not say mm-mm. No. But you see, the problem is, do not go into self-paralysis, okay? Because what we are doing right now is self-paralysis. You are saying you are defeated before you are defeated. To me, it says, perhaps you have not done enough work. Perhaps you've not lobbied. Akerlona, you know how to lobby. You've not lobbied people enough to say, no, members of council, this is not the route that we should be taking. I'm just using that as an example. Perhaps you have not exercised your, but you can only do that if you have done your work. One of the things in one of the articles, I've not referred to it, one of the articles that I wrote a few years ago was arguing that you as SRCs should actually be operating like parliament. In the sense that, listen to me, in the sense that, the cabinet, before a person goes and presents, there's a research wing that does some research. There's, a lot of work goes into that. Do you have that kind of thing? Do you have your senior students, for example, who have studied economics, who can tell you this is where we are at as a country, this is the inflation, these are the inflation targets, and therefore what you are proposing does not make sense at the level of argument. Or your counter argument might be, if you want to raise the fees, for example, and I know what I'm saying now will get me into trouble, but I don't care. If you want to raise the fees, please show us what will that go with. In other words, what services will we be receiving? What is it that we will also benefit from? Because you cannot raise the fees and not raise the services or raise the standard and the quality of what is being provided. That should be the argument. That will then force everyone to say, when we are making these decisions, this is what informs these decisions, this is why they have to be done, this is the rationale behind them, and therefore, unless you can provide, and of course issues of sustainability, that's a fact. But as long as you come with, and with all due respect, I mean, I was a student leader, I was a student activist. In actual fact, when you guys start toying, sometimes I get tempted to join, but I realize I'm not a student anymore. And the fact of the matter is, unless you have really quality arguments that you can put on the table, that you can argue, and you can't do that if you don't have people who have done their homework, who have done research in order to make that argument. So I'm just talking to what you are saying and that first question. The other one that was asked, and of course, you guys are very smart. So you say, how can we be talking about social justice at a global level or even at an international or continental level when issues of social justice are a problem in our campus? I take that. I agree with that. But you need to be able to raise issues. Let me tell you, I won't mention the university. There's a university where I worked. Excuse me. We went to one of the regions, and when we were there, students reminded us that there had been a meeting that took place. These things were said they were going to be done, and they still have not been done. Now I'm sitting there, I have a conscience, and I regard myself as somebody who believes in social justice. I resigned from that university because I said, colleagues, unless we can keep to our word, unless we can do what we said we'll do, if we talk about service delivery, we must be able to deliver. Otherwise, I can't be always going into a meeting with students and you keep on promising and promising and promising. If you raise issues, if issues are raised, there must be equally the delivery that goes with that. So, my argument is, unless you are empowered enough to be able to raise issues, but you gotta have substance. That's why I was asking, I hope you are people who read. Because unless you read, unless you research, then you won't have any substance. The notion of global citizenship, I've alluded to it a little bit. How do we ensure that our students are problem solvers, that they are critical thinkers, that these are the skills that are imparted to them? So, we work in student affairs and services, and you guys go through a formal program, okay? We work in what is called the second curriculum. Everything that I was alluding to, that we do in terms of empowering you with skills. In actual fact, at one of the universities, one of the things that I told the SRC was, I'm the executive director, student support, or whatever it was called then. If you want to engage and raise issues, or even if you have a document that you want to engage with me, these are the ideas, these are the thoughts, I'm available. And I will tell you where you go wrong, and I will tell you without betraying the institution. At the same time, you can decide whichever route you take. It's up to you. You have agency, of course. But I was availing myself to say, as a student affairs practitioner, there are certain skills that I can assist you with. I can assist you to think about things differently. I can assist you to actually expand your ideas about what you are trying to put on the table, because it might be limited to the here and now. So those are the kind of skills when we are dealing with co-curricular programs that we, and if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our jobs. Then we are not doing our jobs, because my expectation is that when you leave the university, when I was talking about graduate attributes, graduateness, you must leave the university being able to think critically. You must leave the university being able to solve challenges. You know, as a student leader, here's the challenge. How do we go about? What are the steps that we can take in order to try and solve the challenge? And if we are not doing that, I say it again, we are not doing our work. I think I've alluded to what we are saying. You say there's no real power. I'm saying you do have the power, but there's more that you can do in terms of that. Thank you. You see, your questions are so powerful, they make me to fall. This way, no, you go ahead,
All right, cool. No. Thank you very much, you guys, for a powerful round of questions. Really powerful, as you just saw. There's so much that I was actually intrigued, one, by the question from you and President General, but also even from the back. I'm sorry that I forgot your name, because it is important. I always say sometimes I think context matters. Some of you may or may not know that Mr. Polambalani himself was a student leader at a particular point. And you will find that the people you're engaging with are people who have the context of the experience that you are having, and therefore understand perhaps even more profoundly, with the benefit of hindsight, the experience that you're having. And I think sometimes there's a weird tension, sort of, because you're in different eras, and of course the challenges might be different, but there are others that persist, right? 10 years ago, when we had Fees Must Fall, we were challenging the question of financial exclusion and so on. But there were other questions at the time that related to, for example, to the naming of buildings and the reflection of institutional culture and so on. Those were the questions of that era. What are the questions of this era? What is it exactly that you guys are coming together and galvanizing around in order to sort of promote or push a common social justice, social change narrative or agenda, as it were? And I think those questions, there was another one about global citizenship as well, and global responsibility, because as Prof said in his presentation, you unfortunately do not have the benefit of isolating issues and saying, no, that one doesn't affect me, and therefore, whatever is happening in Sudan is as common to Sudan as it is here, whatever is happening in Congo, and so on. And it's important that and in Palestine, thank you, and it's in all of those areas, you cannot divorce yourself. And it's important that we have a student leadership that understands and is able to contextualize all of those issues and make them common to even the struggles of our present day, whether it's in Batu location or here in Blumanda and so on. Does that make sense? All right. I am going to, okay, so I wasn't properly speaking into the mic, sorry guys. I'm going to invite a second round of questions. 3 people, just stick your hand up for me, and then 1, 2. 3, President General. I'm willing to give it to anyone else if there is someone else, because, oh, okay, repeat questions. All right, I'll take you in the third round, Marata. Is that fine? Okay, there was a hand this side first.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Greetings, Prof. You had alluded to the fact, I think you were answering PG's question on how SRCs basically like have the power, etc., and you basically spoke about like how I think they should look at like benefits and what they're basically going to lose. I think I might be mistaken, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But personally, I think that engagement is a problem. And when I say engagement, I think engagement between school management, with the SRC, with the students. Because if things are not communicated properly within those 3 parties, then we as students end up fighting with our SRCs, forgetting that they themselves are students and that problems that take place within the institution also are going to affect them one day. And also you spoke about alternatives. So, and I'm going to bring this close to home, and home saying the University of the Free State with regards to the provisional registration stuff that was basically taking place. Alternatives, why you said, why don't they check alternatives before, I'm asking, why don't they basically check alternatives before announcing such things? So basically, how is it going to affect the students? Who is it going to necessarily affect? And because majority of the information or data that was presented to us as students was after we had consultations, and it sounded like they were, or it felt like they were necessarily forced consultations with the school management, etc. So it's a matter of why don't they check these alternatives and basically who they're going to affect. And also your point on educated fools. Do you not think, in your opinion, that calling police on unarmed students is a form of educated foolishness? Thank you.
Yeah.
Good day. Good day to the House at large and Prof. My question, or rather, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ofenze Gegana, and my question is very similar to what my lady has asked. And with mine it's, so the presentation that you illustrated is real images of what has transpired in various institutions, and I see there's no pictures of Qaqwa, which is good. Have the student affairs taken a moment to reflect on what has pushed to that? Does the management listen to the interest of students rather than listening to what is in the interest of them? With that said, Prof, you said we must do our research as student leaders on the counter-arguments and the situation at hand and the reason for it. But is that because the situations serve the university or they serve us? Must we agree to that if it serves the university? Or are we allowed to voice our opinion as student leaders to say, this does not benefit us as students? We cannot be subjected to this because we always say we are creating globally competitive graduates. How in an institution that is marginalizing us and not allowing us the privilege to study? If we are phasing out provisional registrations, what about those students that come here with the hopes of, I can study for so long until I get a bursary? And what if they don't get a bursary? Are we encountering, or rather, are we taking into account that we want to create more black students that can go out there in the world and represent us and be globally competitive when we are taking such stances to disadvantage them? No student wakes up to cause trouble when we understand the reason why we are here. Student leaders created petitions and sat in various meetings with management to address everything that has transpired with them wanting to phase out provisional registration. And the institutional went out to the media to paint students as bad people. Does management ever look at themselves and say, we created this? Does student affairs ever look at us when we are voicing these opinions and say, but I know the students, I know that they wouldn't just wake up and do this. We are sitting here as people that are pursuing an education for a reason. We don't just wake up and burn things. There's no reason for us to do that. Does management want to listen to us, or are they saying they're listening just so that they can have it on their hands to say, we sat in a meeting to address this? Thank you.
Thanks again, MC, for providing me with another chance to speak. This time around, I stand up on a different topic again, right? Prof, in one of your lecture slides, presentation slides, there was something about universities competing, right? On a global stance or national or however you want to put it. But then again, I feel like we are not talking enough about how the university is using that as an excuse to exclude us from our right to education. For example, let me bring it at home like one of the previous speakers did. The University of the Free State in the past couple of years was one of the only universities that gave students a second chance that did not perform so well in matric. You would then come here, get an opportunity to be within an extended program or do a higher certificate and launch into a mainstream. And in the name of competing, whether nationally or globally, comparing themselves to other universities, which they caution us not to do, right? They then decide that that program, it is going to come to an end. Now again, Prof, no matter if I had done so much research that would have earned me a PhD, that wasn't a conversation that was had with student leaders. That was a decision that student leaders were informed by. In the same instance with raising fees, it's not a conversation of, oh, President General, what do you think about raising fees? No, it's the minister recommended such, and here's what we're gonna do. Then you have to worry about the rest of your constituencies. And then how do I then explain to anyone and the Secretary General of the institution, right? No matter how much we argue, no matter how simple we speak, no matter how loud, however we present it, the constitution of the institution deems that after discussing an issue, it ought to be voted upon. And if we discuss something right now in this house, you disagree, I agree, you disagree, and then we vote. And then the majority then says, no, we disagree with this motion. There is nothing I can do. It goes into the minutes, it's in summit, it's done. Then that's what I'm saying when I prof is that the university then will say, no, but we brought you to the table. But we actually had the steak, you had the vegetables, thank you.
Yeah. I think some of you are trying to make sure that I never come back to this university. And firstly, you ask questions that make me fall, and then you asking me questions about, you know, when people start quoting you to yourself, you must know you are in trouble. When you start talking about educated fools and you're just trying to get me into trouble. And I was not born yesterday, but I will deal with it. On a serious note, I think that one of you, it's a pity, I don't know whether it was Ufense, but one of you, yeah, I don't think they introduced themselves, made what I think is a very powerful statement, that there's a problem with engagement. And listening to this round of comments, I'm getting a sense that that might be the crux of the problem. So as you were talking, maybe I'll mention the university this time around. I worked, no, it's not the same university. It's a different university. I've been to many universities, so you still won't figure out the one I didn't want to tell you. So I worked at the University of South Africa a few years ago, and as a dean of students there. One of the things that used to happen was, long before you have engagements about fee increases, there will be a lot of engagements. Not about, this is how much we're going to raise and whatnot. It's just engagements about, or call it consultation if you will, about what the university's plan is for the next 3 years. What are the infrastructure development plans, and how does it hope to achieve that? How much money has the university raised, and what are other sources that it is looking at? And what role can the SRC play in terms of helping the university to achieve its objectives? Okay, those will be the discussions. And the reason why I was saying to you, it seems to me that there's not enough that is done prior to the actual engagement to ensure that we are speaking from a position of knowledge and power. So one of the documents that will be produced from all those consultations and engagements is a very critical document that outlines not only the plans for the future, but also the rationale behind it and how that can be achieved, and gives the SRC an opportunity to say what you've presented or what you are presenting before we go to council. There are other ways in which it can be done. There are other alternatives. Have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? Before you can say you want to raise the fees. And what I was saying earlier to say, the question then that gets asked is, if you are going to raise the fees, you raising them, and what will be something that we as a students, we are going to benefit from in terms of the resources, in terms of the service delivery, as it were. So that discussion, it enabled us that by the time we went and sat at council, in actual fact, council meetings that were discussing fee increases did not take more than 30 minutes, because there has been a whole lot of engagement that has taken place, the rationale, the explanation, the discussion, the debates, and all of those things. Okay? That's just one example. When I'm saying to you that I don't think that you are doing your own homework well, let me get to the point about the numbers game. And I think you're missing my point entirely. So, it doesn't matter that in council there could be 100 people and only 2 of those are your student representatives. It actually doesn't matter. It seriously doesn't matter. It is about the quality of your arguments. It's about the quality of your presentation. But, no, don't say, listen. Listen. But, no, okay, that's why I don't say, hey. Well, I used to be a lecturer, so I pay attention to students. So, long before that meeting, you are only 2 people. What have you done to really engage other council members so that they see things the way you see them? Let me give you another example at another university. University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I worked. Student leaders went to Senate. There was a proposal that was put at Senate. Because students had done their homework, because they had, to use your words, lobbied, because they had engaged people, they won the argument. My point is, unless you do your homework, unless you do your work, unless you engage people, unless you really are able. But here's the thing. If the quality of your arguments does not stand muster, then do not cry foul when a decision is made. It's not about the voting. The voting is the final process of a democratic process. It's about what happens long before that happens. And I'm saying, I don't think you guys are doing enough. Some of us who've sat at council, you listen to students, you listen to their arguments. And I can tell you this, as an executive director, I will go to the VC and say, you know what? Let me give you one good example. We had a case where students wanted us to postpone exams. There were all kinds of things that had happened. And because of the rules and all kinds of things, the registrar said, no, it can't happen. The students presented an argument. We looked at that argument. Long before we went to the Senate, I had engaged the VC. I said, look, I've looked at what they are saying. I work with these students. I think what they're saying this time, it makes a whole lot of sense. Can we please consider this? Can you support me when we go to Senate? Can we get others to support this? And guess what? The executive deans were engaged. The arguments were put on the table, and the students won the day. And in Senate, how many? I think there were about 6 or 8 out of more than 53 that you're talking about. Senate is quite huge. My point is, there's a lot that you can do in order to be able to win the day. Let me just see what else was there. So President General, you are talking about the issue of rankings. And yeah, you are right. Rankings are a problem. The Rhodes University took a stance that it is not going to participate in rankings because of the whole debate around rankings in itself. It's a huge thing. But the example that you have used is, to me, similar to what happens in schools. If it is true, and I don't have any reason to doubt that what you are saying is true, where I don't know those of you who are studying education, there's a concept of culling. What does that mean? When students come to grade 10, they get told that, please do not take maths, rather take maths, what is it called? Math lit. And there's nothing lit about that math. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I did not say that. I did that too. I think when I was a student, no. I was just throwing shades. I live with young people, so I know what you guys say. So let me get to my point. So what happens in school is you get told, don't do pure maths, do maths lit, because you're gonna mess up with our percentage of students who have bachelor passes. If what you are saying is true, then for me that is sad. It speaks to the very issue that I started with. What is the purpose of higher education? What does higher education do in terms of contributing to solving real life problems? And real life problems are what you were talking about, where students who have not done well are given a second opportunity. And if for real, and this one I'm saying it, even if I don't get invited here again, I don't care. If indeed that decision was made because it is influenced by issues of rankings, then it is a very sad decision. I don't know what influenced that decision, but your point is, and this is what I take from what you are saying, sometimes we have to look at the extent to which the university contributes to societal development. The university contributes to improving the lives of the... If a university is in a space where it does not make, again, I go back to the argument of Professor Ira Hakavi. If the university cannot make a contribution to solving societal challenges, because these very students who have not done well, they will end up being NEETs. You know what are NEETs? Young people who are not in education, not in employment, and we know where that contributes to all the problems that we are having as a country. But I'm making these comments without knowing the real facts around that. But here's the thing, and I think it links up with that first speaker in this round about engagement. Before that decision was made, were student leaders engaged? Were they made to understand why are we moving in this direction? Were they made to understand why do we need to abandon certain things? And if the rationale is only about finances, then that's a problem. Because then you will ask the question, isn't the university supposed to be making a contribution to society, to the very same community in which it is based? And what better way to do that if it is not assisting young people who need to improve themselves and putting them through a bridging course of some sort? I don't know whether you get my line of argument, because then it goes back to precisely that. You have to be able to engage, you have to be able to be provided with an understanding, the rationale as to why things are done in that particular way. We live in times where you should be able to explain your decisions. You should be able to explain the rationale behind your decisions. And any manager or any leader or any executive who is not able to do that and just says, we're just doing it because we have to do it, I don't have to explain to you, then there lies the problem, at least in my view.
Sure. It's getting hotter and hotter. I don't know if it's just me. I think it's, yes.
No, sorry, just one thing. Somebody was talking about the images and all that. And of course, I was in, it's not all the universities. It's just a few places. I was just trying to make an argument. And oh yeah, I think this is a very important question that was asked. My apologies. What pushes students to that level? That was the question. I must be honest with you. I was a student leader, University of Durban, Westville. We sat in the VC's office, and we did sit. Actually, I think we sat overnight until we got arrested, of course. But here's the thing. During that time, we never burned a single building. No matter how angry we were, no matter how frustrated we were, because I hear you, I still can never understand why. I don't care how much you've been pushed, why you'll want to destroy the very same thing that your younger siblings must benefit from. That I don't understand. I will never understand it. I will never condone it. It just doesn't make sense. But I hear you when you're saying, unless you engage with us, unless you understand where we're coming from, unless you give us the platform to do that, then we get to a certain level. I just don't understand when it gets to the burning. Thank you.
I'm going to invite our third and final round of questions. Guys, Prof must go back home, can't he? But I'm grateful also that, at that, because it means you're engaged and this is actually, meaningful. Two more rounds. Okay, Prof is being generous, says 2 more rounds. Will that work? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Prof is not going to, that fortunately, guys, because of where we are, which is Mangaung, there are no late flights. So Prof is not in a hurry to catch a flight or anything. So if I don't catch your hand in the room, you can speak to him in the foyer afterwards, maybe even get, a more, in-depth view of whatever challenge, issue, or comment you might have. Can I ask you to please settle down? Please. Please. Thank you. I am going to then take, in this round, 2 hands, because I already have one from the previous round that I promised, unless you are, submarining to make room for someone else. Is your question still standing? Not the lady behind you. Is your question, okay, so that's 1. 2, another repeat. Guys, I need at least 1 unique hand in this round. Okay, that's power also. All right. You may go ahead.
So my question is based off the first thing that you had said, which is that the youth should take the power into their hands, something like that.
Sir, I'm struggling to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that my question is based off one of the first things you said, which is that the youth should take power over South Africa. So how do you believe that the youth of South Africa can truly take the future into their own hands when we're dealing with a youth that I'd like to think is a bit narrow-minded, and the narrow mind has been induced by over and underexposure of all sorts of media? And how do we deal with that, especially in the face of big crises that we have in this country, such as unemployment, inequality, and these challenges that we have in our education system? Thank you.
All right, there's another hand here.
Greetings once again. I'll just introduce myself this time since I didn't the last time. My name is Lubanzi Langa. And my question, or rather a statement that I have was with regards to what Prof said in the previous round about, and you made an example with your parents basically shouting at you and you not getting angry. I don't think that's a fit example because we're not consulted in the necessary way that's basically needed for, I guess, a peaceful strategy to basically take place amongst us as students. Because another thing, if we also hear, and I'm also bringing it close to home now, if we also hear that one of the members of management says that we can go ahead and strike and they are unaffected, of course it's going to ignite something within us. We are not going to be happy because it's okay, it's for all you care, you can go ahead. We are not going to change our decision. And that leaves no room for negotiations or consultations between us, between management, the SRC, and us as students. And also, Prof mentioned that some people in uni basically shouldn't necessarily be in uni. And or like basically alluding to relevance. So basically, do you mean that irrelevant in the sense that studying courses that don't align with what they are personally meant to do, or irrelevant in the sense of doing cliche courses? And also, my question in the previous round wasn't answered. Is educated foolish? Is calling police on unarmed students who are freely exercising their right to protest and voicing basically their opinions not an example of educated foolishness? Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Prof. Just a lighter question. I just wanted to know, in what ways can the higher education sector in South Africa focus on developing students holistically? Because education for me is not just about academia, but learning more about oneself physically, spiritually, emotionally, etc. Because let's be realistic, academics without holistic development produces students who can pass the exam but struggle to navigate life day to day. Thank you.
No, thanks for that. I guess, Lubanzi, you missed the point entirely. I responded to your question by not responding to it. And it was deliberate. When I said some people want to make sure that I don't get invited here again, that was my response. I'm not going to respond to that. I decided not to respond to it. But you missed, I guess you missed that. So, these are very good questions. I think what you guys are raising, I'm hoping that when we leave here, we really think long and hard about what is it that we need to change, or what is it that we need to do differently in order to change not only the way that we do things, not only the way that we engage, but the way that higher education in this country unfolds. It is my hope, at least if some of the things that I've said have provoked you, like the question that has come to say, how can you be talking about the youth being able to take the future into their hands when we are dealing with it? And by the way, that's brave of you to tell it like it is. Part of the problem in this country, by the way, is that we are very economical with the truth. We don't tell each other the truth. If we were doing so, if all men, by the way, if all men, actually I must be careful because some of the people who do these despicable things, they may be called men, but I don't think they are men. So anyway, no. If all individuals who look like men, just because you have a penis, you think you are a man. If all males came together and spoke to each other and say, this thing that you are doing is actually, it's not on. If you want to be called a man, you cannot be involved in gender-based violence and femicide. I'm just using that as an example. We don't tell each other the truth. That's part of the problem. We don't engage honestly and frankly. And when we do, all kinds of things happen. I'm using that example to say what you said is very brave because it is actually true. We have young people who have actually, in my view, it's like they have checked out. They have literally checked out. How do you then ensure that you can get young people who realize that the future is in their hands, that this country belongs to them, that the future of this country belongs to them. So unless you really, at a material level, do things that will change the way that we do things, we're going nowhere fast. It's unfortunate, and I'm going to say this without any qualms. I'm 55 years old, okay? No, I am. And I'm almost 60. The majority of people who are in government are people who are very old. Why is that the case? People who, in my view, should not be deciding the future of this country. Yes, experience is important. Yes, expertise is important. But young people should be the ones who are driving things. And the reason why I mentioned my age, I did it deliberately, so that you don't think I'm a young person. I'm saying this, and this is not ageism. It's about us speaking the truth to power. So your point about young people being able to take charge, I want to throw it back to you. You are student leaders, or you call yourself student leaders, okay? What are you doing to conscientize young people in such a way that they change the way that they think? They change the kind of things that, how many young people have you spoken to? And when you have conversations, you check, which book have you read of late? Not which social media or TikTok this, TikTok that have you been watching of late. And we are not going to get anywhere, and we are not going to get you as young people, because without that knowledge, without that power, then we are lying to each other. So I really appreciate that question that you've asked, but as I said, I'm throwing it back to you, because I think you are the people who can actually make that change. Now, there's a question that was asked regarding, no, I've dealt with this one. Oh yeah, I was saying what the economist David Roth has written about. To a large extent, I support it. I really support it. And I made the statement, provocatively so, that there are people who are not supposed to go to it. Again, if we are honest with each other and we are frank. Take, for example, a person like me. I was horrible in maths, okay? I can come up with arguments. We were taught by a guy who had matric, and he was what do you call the people at the correctional services? He was not a guard, but what are they called? Warden, yeah, a warden. That's the guy who taught us. So I'm horrible on my own. I'm taught by somebody who has not gone through any degree to understand pedagogy, to understand, how you deliver curriculum and all of that. If I had gone to university and tried to study engineering, for example, that would have been a waste of my time, a waste of taxpayers' time and taxpayers' money and everything. If we are honest with ourselves, there are people who are good at certain things. But because we have ingrained this mentality that the only place that you can go to is a university, because we have this notion that the university is the only place where you can actually gain the necessary skills which will allow you to make a contribution, which will allow you to actually go and employ others. We have a lot of people who are at university who shouldn't be here, and we're not talking about this. Now you're talking about courses. Yes, again, if we are honest with each other, there are some programs and some courses which, seriously, a few years ago, unbeknown to most of you, you could go to university and study biblical studies, Okay? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with biblical studies. I'm studying right now to be a priest. So there's nothing wrong with that. But ask yourself, where is biblical studies today? Why do we not have biblical studies? Is it still relevant in terms of where we should be going as a country? In terms of the necessary skills that are required? So all of this speaks to, oh, by the way, at most schools, they got rid of something that was called guidance and counseling. So most of us go to schools. You decide that you are just going to go and study, whether you have what it takes, whether you have the interest. And by the way, maybe I must also share with you this. I'm actually a dropout. You'll never, despite the fact that I've got 2 master's degrees, but I'm actually a dropout. You know why? I went into a program that I had absolutely no interest in, that bored me to death, and that I did not even understand, and I was going to fail. And I decided I need to go out of there. How many of our students who come to university are in programs where they know they shouldn't be, yet they continue? These are unpalatable truths. These are, you could go into a TV. It's a pity, by the way. It's a pity. And this is what we are talking about now in terms of transformation in this country. It's a pity that the Department of Higher Education did not do enough to make your TVETs fashionable, to make your TVET education, up to a standard. We have this elitist mentality that only if you go to university, then this is the best place to be. I don't think so. You can go, and I use those examples that I use. You can go to a TVET, a simple thing as the beauty industry. How many people here, actually, if I look around, there's people with nice hair. He has done his hair. I cut my hair. She has hair. Even the gentleman, I think he's cut his hair. Everybody has made use of people who are in the beauty industry. And how many people are we training in order to be able to provide those skills? And this is something that is required, because everybody goes through everybody wants to look good. Fashion industry, all those kind of things. I hope you get my point. I don't mean it in a bad way. I really don't mean it in a bad way when I say some people don't belong here, because that's how it gets interpreted. No, why some people's kids must not go to university and others must go. No, it's not even about that. It's not even close. So, as I end, I think one of the questions that was asked is, so how do we develop students holistically? And I tend to agree with the leader who asked that question, because it's important to leave university with a qualification. But the point that I was trying to make is you also need to have other skills. If you look at those 10 skills that I showed up there, the last 3, they've got very little to do with your academic knowledge. It's about whether you are able, do you have emotional intelligence? How many people have you seen who are very smart, but they have no clue in terms of interacting and working with others? Very brilliant human being, but is horrendous. Zero emotional skills. Unless we ensure that we develop those skills. And that's what holistic development is all about. It's about ensuring that in terms of graduate attributes, a person who leaves this university must be a well-rounded person who is able to, for example, realize that where there are social injustices, you cannot just sit back. Who is able to make interventions that will change the course of things. Who is able to actually confront what is not right. And the reason why we have the problems that we have today is because most of us have decided to keep quiet. We watch this country going into doldrums. And unless and until you, as young people, you, as the leaders, are able to impart that kind of mentality, where people start to think differently, where people think that you can solve, I still insist, you can solve problems. It's the same with violence. It's the same with violence. I don't think violence solves anything. I do not. Some men who are involved in gender-based violence will tell you, I have done so much for this woman. Now that she's leaving me, if I can't have her, nobody will have her. And what do? You kill her. Is that the solution? Is that the solution to things? In the same way, as I say, to banning stuff, it just doesn't make sense to you. But it is you. You are the leaders that can make that change. As Mahatma Gandhi said, you are the change that is required to make the change that will change the world.
Yes. No shame. Colleagues, I am opening up one last round. Ne? I saw one hand here. I haven't seen. The people saying, I'm going to need to see hands to back up the ha. I'm going to need to see those hands stretched up high. Just ha. Okay, there's one hand over here. Going once. Twice. There's one hand at the back, right at the back. Going once. It's just twice. Thank you very much. Please give the mic to this lady here.
Greetings to the house at large.
Hello.
In the Platinum House. I would just like to make submissions because I think it's very difficult to pose questions if we're not going to be honest and frank with each other. So I'd rather make submissions if that's all right with you, Chair. The first one, you mentioned something about engagement. Engagement has no substance if it lacks accountability. And I think that's one thing that management fails dismally at. Because we're dealing with a situation sometimes where they must just take account that they didn't do their research properly. The same way you just took account to say that rankings are unrealistic, which is very true. And I wish that the University of the Free State withdraws themselves for such. But I would like to say there should be more accountability from that side. Because if there's accountability, then we can have engagements properly. Because we can come back to the table and say that it was wrong of us to not do our research properly and to come and present something like this. Second point that I would like to make, you mentioned something about the fact that we have power. Power and truth is not something that exists in the space, to be honest. I don't know if we are allowed to be honest with each other, because when we are honest in this room, we might be saved again. And that's what happens to student leaders. And I think it's one thing to sit in rooms and to discuss student issues and to be honest with one another and frank, as you have said, say. And then the moment we step outside, we are saved as student leaders. And it must be noted on black and white today that we are not scared leaders. But it becomes a problem when the next time we come to a meeting, there's research that's been done on us. And when I say research, I'm not talking about whether we're students. We are being told where we come from by management. We know where we come from, but we are being told where we come from management themselves. That should tell you that someone is on your tail. Should you do something wrong? That is the problem that we are facing. And another thing that I was very amazed to see is that management has time, Prof. They even go campus to campus, decampaigning particular individuals in spaces. And it's something that disturbed me, to say that even in that decampaigning that they were doing, there was no accountability until we spoke up. But to say that you were also wrong in this and this, that's when they admitted. And I would like to go back to your last point that you mentioned.
Without interrupting you, my speaker, you're asking 4 questions in
No,
one.
it's just submissions. It's
How
not
many
questions.
submissions? So that, because I also am pressed for, let me maybe bring the room into my confidence as well. There are specific time limitations I have with regards to the live stream.
Okay, no,
So
one.
soon I'm going to be cut off, and I wouldn't want it to be unceremoniously.
Okay.
So if you can allow me, please. Yes.
No problem. The last one, I would just like to say that it's very difficult to empower others when we are being denied the bare minimums, which is education. Access, that's all we're asking. But with that, and being honest and frank, as we have stated, I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Greetings to the house at large. My name is Lucas Edmond Mulageng. Professor, I'm directing this thing to you. When Prof is talking about the damages, yes, I agree with you that doing the damages is not right. But I feel like that's what the institution or management pays attention to or hears. Because before students go to damage things and all of those things, they first do a peaceful strike. Then they call police on students. And the management is not saying anything by that time. But let me make a typical example. Regarding the situation at Kokwa campus, after that thing happened, that's when management was up for negotiation to sit with the SRC. And that's when they agreed with the 2 years contract. What's going to happen again after 2 years?
All right. Please settle down, guys. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Prof is going to respond to the last round, and immediately after, Mr. Paul Mbolan is going to join us on stage just to sort of close it up nicely. We are not leaving, I promise. So what's important here is so that, like I said, that we wrap it up neatly. Is that right? Is that okay? Thank you so much. So as soon as Prof is done responding, Mr. Paul Mbalane, sorry, I keep saying Mbalane, will join us on stage to give us closing remarks as well as a vote of thanks.
Yeah, ne? Look, I must just say that I truly appreciate this engagement, and I don't take lightly the issues that you are raising. And it is my greatest hope that out of engagements of this nature, we may begin to have, take actions that will change the way that we do things. Thank you. You have asked very difficult questions, I must just be honest with you. Because I, too, am part of what is called management, okay? And, when you've been an activist or when you've been a student leader, in actual fact, I normally threaten student leaders and say, you see what you are doing? One day you'll also be management, and people will call you management, because I never thought I could also be called management, and I will be on the other side. So when I'm just messing with them, I say, one day it will happen to you. But on a serious note, let me start with the last one. Look, I think at some point, let's maybe agree to disagree. I've heard this notion that, in actual fact, they say, this is the language that management understands. That's what you guys say. And maybe linking it to the other question, I am not going to stand here and defend colleagues, whoever they are, who engage in really almost like apartheid type tactics. Your tactics of divide and rule, or tactics of trying to intimidate students, harass students, and all of that. I'm sorry, I can't do that. If there are leaders or managers who do that, then not in my name. Not in my name. In actual fact, when I was an executive director in one of the universities, where there were always strikes and students were banning things and all that, one of the things that I told student leaders was, I need you to be united. It's important that you are united. Because when you're coming, this one says this, that one says that, it doesn't assist. I'll rather deal with you as one collective. So the divide and rule thing, I know it's a strategy for some managers. It's horrible. It is really horrible. If you are scared to engage students, if you are scared to argue with students, if you are scared to challenge students and allow them to challenge you, then you have a problem. And unfortunately, I don't want to say much about that. I really don't want to say much about that. All I'm saying is not in my name. That's all I can say. The question that was asked earlier, let me, I know I'm sharing too much, but I will share anyway. So when my son was 14 years old, my son is extremely smart. I must just put it out there. No, I'm serious. No. At 14, he was arguing like a 21-year-old. And he will take you up. In actual fact, I must be honest, there were times when I felt, I wish I was like our old parents, where when a child starts arguing, you just say, you'll do it because I said so. End of argument. No, not with my son. One of the things that I had to learn was to say, I'm sorry and I was wrong. Now, for most people, that is not an easy thing to do, especially when it comes to a younger person. They can never allow themselves to be vulnerable. So I'm deliberately relaying that story to you. Deliberately, because it's not easy. It is not easy. Especially young people will remind you that, by the way, Ning, this is what happened. But if you are matured enough, you must learn to be able to do that. Why am I relaying that story? The issue of accountability that you were speaking about, I agree with you entirely. Leadership without accountability, engagement without accountability is a problem. And again, you are right. If we are to be honest with each other, if we are to be frank with each other, we must be held to account. I always say to the SRCs, when we do wrong, or when we don't deliver, hold us accountable. In the same way, by the way, that we will also hold you accountable. So I couldn't agree with you more. The issue of accountability. In actual fact, I relayed a story to you that I resigned from one of the universities, which I refuse to tell you which one. Precisely because of that. Because you're working with people who do not want to take accountability. Consequence management is important. It is important, and you as leaders, and now I'm saying this without fear or favor, you must always hold us accountable. You must hold us. If you are a manager, especially at the executive level, you must be held accountable. And for me, if I can no longer account, then I shouldn't be in that space. It's as simple as that. So I don't have any arguments with what you are saying, and you are absolutely right. However, there's a flip side to that. The flip side is that you yourselves must be held accountable. So one thing, no, wait, don't be quick to say we are. One thing I don't like about student leaders, I love student leaders. You guys keep me young because you challenge me, you do all kinds of things. But one thing that I don't like is when you fail to take accountability. When you start saying that when you are asked or you are forced to be accountable, then you call it harassment. Then you call it all kinds of things. That is a problem. And I'm not relating it to what you were saying. You know, when somebody starts saying things about where you come from, that's intimidation. That's playing all kinds of games. Not unless if I didn't understand it. But you as well must be able to take accountability. Let's be honest with each other. Don't go around and then start saying all kinds of things. I've told my son that when you get to university, if you do something wrong, I will make sure that I am the one who takes you. If it means to take you to prison, that's what I will do. And I've told that to young people. Oh no, I don't play games. I've told that to young people as well. I've told that to student leaders. I say, if you get corrupt, if you do something wrong, believe you me, as much as I have all this love, I will be amongst the first to make sure that you are held accountable. So I hear you, but there's a flip side to it. So as I end, I do think that, of course, it is important that we must always have honest and frank engagements. Unless we do that, and for me, as a Christian, my conscience always speaks to me, because unless I can do everything that I do, asking myself, is this what a Christian should be living? Is this right in the eyes of God? If you are not a believer, that's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine. However, you must still make sure that everything that you do, you are honest, you are frank. And by the way, this is something that young people taught me, Memus. In all the years, I've been in higher education for 34 years. And one of the things that young people have taught me, I've summarized it into 3 things. It's about principles. A principle is a principle regardless of who is involved. If something is wrong, it is wrong. Whether you like the person, whether it's your friend, whether it's this or that, on the basis of principles, you must deal with matters in a principled way. It speaks to accountability that you were talking about. People must account when they have not done what is right. Secondly, it's about the truth. You can change all kinds of things. You can never change the truth. The truth remains constant, regardless of anything. Of course, because we are human beings, we find ways of twisting it around. But The truth remains regardless. And guess what? Half the time, you and I know what is the truth. Then thirdly, and this is something, by the way, I used to teach education management. This is something that they don't teach in management or even in leadership. It's love. Unless you have love. In actual fact, I want to put it to you this evening that if our politicians, and I haven't said bad things about politicians, it's the first time. Normally I say a lot of bad things about them. If our politicians loved us, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't be having potholes. We wouldn't be having issues of service delivery. So if you are a leader and you do not have love, not only love for those that you lead, but love for what you do and for the people that you're supposed to do for. So I hope, as I said, with this engagement, I hope I will be invited again because I would love to engage with you. I would really love to engage further with you because I really do think I think you guys are on the right track. I think you are asking the right questions. I think you are raising the right issues. These are not easy issues. These are uncomfortable, but we must engage them. And unfortunately, I'm at an age where I seriously struggle to really, I can't deal with lies. If it's either I have to resign if I feel, no, now we are lying to students or to student leaders, let me get out of here. We must make sure that we engage honestly, frankly, and without any hesitations in terms of dealing with matters. I wish you everything of the best, especially with your exams. As you deal with your exams, please don't forget why you are here. You are fighting for the issues of your students, but remember, you can never pour from an empty cup. Empower yourself. Make sure that you are empowered. Get the qualification that you need to get out of here, and make a difference out there. Thank you.
If you stay with me, I promise I won't be long because Prof did justice in terms of the discussions that you've had this evening. And I would like to start off by acknowledging Mr. Jerry Laga, the Director of Sports, Arts and Culture, who also forms part of our Student Affairs Senior Leadership Group. Thank you, Ndade Jerry, for gracing us with your presence. And allow me to also send sincere apologies on behalf of the Executive Director of Student Affairs, Sports, Arts and Culture, Dr. Hlasho. He would have loved to share this evening with you. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, he couldn't be here this evening. And that is why I am doing the closing remarks on behalf of the Executive Director. And I must say, Prof, that we may have postponed the session 2 times, but it was very timely. That it is happening at the time where, as the university, we are reflecting on the recent incidents. And I think this gave our students and student leaders an opportunity to really reflect as well. And so I think the timing, obviously the universe had to align the timing. And for that, as Student Affairs, we are really grateful that we've gotten an opportunity to also get some of the lessons out of what has really happened. And Prof, you started off by saying what is missing in our country is the platforms to dialogue. And this reminds us as Student Affairs why we created platforms of this nature. And of course, students would argue of not being engaged in platforms where they are actually being engaged. Because without then the platform in itself, they wouldn't be making such complaints that we are not being engaged. And the idea really is to make sure that we promote a culture of engagement in our university. Because you are correct, Prof, that an engaged student is a student with a guaranteed path to success. And through your keynote address, you did not only give us the tools to diagnose the challenges that we face in higher education in our societies and globally, but you've also challenged us to think differently about some of the ills that we are facing in our societies and in our higher education environment. And for that, I do want to thank you, Prof. May we give Prof a round of applause. And let me also turn back to you, the audience. Thank you for engaging at the level that you did. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. Your curiosity and level of engagement gives courage to student affairs that we really need to continue these types of engagements. And Program Director Musa, thank you for running the program so smoothly and for gracing us with your skill to make sure that we have a successful program. Obviously, this event would not have been possible without the organizers themselves. Kamo, Irene, and the additional support that we got from Khunze, Sabi, as well as Tenji. Colleagues, thank you so much for putting this event together. Let me also appreciate the space that we are in because it belongs to a people. So let me appreciate the residence head first, Miss L, for allowing us to make use of the space. Let me appreciate the prime in this residence, but as well as House Tuka for arranging, actually, last night the venue was ready because they arranged on our behalf, and for that we really do appreciate. I think Easy got us started on an easy kind of a vibe. Easy dog, where is Easy? Your dog. Thank you so much, Easy. Thank you so much, Easy, for sharing your talent with us. We really, really appreciate it. And let us settle, I'm almost done, and it is this kind of talent that does reflect the work that Student Affairs does, but also that give us more reasons why we should continue doing the work that we do. Because through sports, arts, and culture, we inculcate such a talent. So thank you for sharing it with us. And to the service providers, Roystool for streaming. We were live throughout the session, and we appreciate that from Roystool. Kali and the team, thank you so much. Our internal ICT department, Gavin and the team, we really appreciate it. The Department of Communication and Marketing, Creative Kilowatt for sound, we really appreciate. Better Together for the deco. Our sign language interpreters will become co-program directors. Mdu and Pulane, thank you so much for ensuring that we remain inclusive in our programs. The ER24, as well as our campus protection services, greatly appreciate your services. And with those from my side, thank you, and thank you. Just quick announcements. You may clap for me. I'm going to ask our guest speaker to remain and Ndade Jerry to also remain for a photo shoot while I give token of appreciations. But just a quick announcement. What are they called? Is it? Sorry, sometimes I forget what these things are called. Yeah, but I think it's refreshments. They will be served at the back, but I'm asked to announce that we need to move in an orderly way. Everybody will get something. So we are going to start with the first rows. from the front. We move. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Let's calm down. I know we promote engagements and consultations, but I'm not consulting on this one. So you will move from the front row. Guys, there's a difference between informing and consulting. Yeah, I'm informing you. Really, let's be respectful. From the front row, 2 rows at a time, you go and get your packs. There's also transport arranged for our off-campus students, so you will be dropped off safely. And I think I did not leave anything out. And with those words, really thank you, and thank you.